You know there is a peculiar phenomenon that occurs in human social interaction, and it is this. When you are comfortable with silence, when you do not feel the need to fill every moment with words and noise and chatter, other people become remarkably uncomfortable. They do not simply notice your quietness and accept it. No, they are disturbed by it, threatened by it, sometimes even hostile toward it. And they will do various things to try to break your silence, to pull you into speech, to make you like them, constantly talking, constantly broadcasting, constantly filling the void with sound. The question is why? Why does your quietness bother them so much? What is it about silence, about someone who is comfortable not speaking, that provokes such a strong reaction in others? And the answer, I think, reveals something quite profound about the nature of consciousness, about the human condition, about the ways in which most people are running from themselves without even knowing it. Let me begin by describing what actually happens when you are quiet in social situations. You are at a gathering, perhaps, or in a meeting, or simply in the company of others, and you are not speaking much. You are listening, observing, present, but not verbally contributing. You are comfortable with this. You do not feel any need to prove your presence through constant speech. You are simply here aware, at ease in the silence. But others are not at ease. You can see it in their faces, in their body language. They keep glancing at you. They ask you questions designed to make you talk. Why are you so quiet? They say, are you okay? Is something wrong? You should talk more. Don't you have anything to say? And there is something in the tone of these questions, something that is not really concerned or caring, but rather uncomfortable, even accusatory, as though your silence is somehow an offense, a violation, a problem that needs to be corrected. Now, what is actually happening here? Why does your comfort with silence create such discomfort in others? The answer, I believe, lies in the fact that most people are desperately, though, unconsciously running from silence. They are running from stillness, from emptiness, from the unadorned present moment. And they maintain this running through constant mental and verbal activity, through endless talking, through the perpetual filling of space with sound and distraction. When you are comfortable with silence, when you are not running in this way, you become a mirror that reflects back to them their own running. Your stillness highlights their agitation. Your comfort with quiet reveals their discomfort with it. And this is deeply threatening because it brings them face to face with what they are avoiding, with what they have organized their entire lives around, not confronting. You see, silence is not simply the absence of sound. Silence is the space in which you encounter yourself, in which you meet what is actually here, in which all the distractions and entertainments and busyness fall away. And you are left with just this, just now, just being. And for most people, this is terrifying, because when everything falls away, when the noise stops, they do not know who they are. They have built their entire sense of self on constant doing, constant thinking, constant talking. And in silence, all of that stops, and they fear they will disappear. They will be nothing. They will be confronted with an emptiness they cannot bear, so they keep talking. They keep the noise going. They fill every moment with words, with opinions, with stories, with anything that prevents the silence from emerging. And when they encounter someone who is not doing this, someone who is comfortable in the silence, it threatens the entire structure they have built to avoid it. Your silence says it is possible to be here without all this noise. And this is a dangerous message for them to receive. Because if it is possible, if they do not actually need to be constantly talking and thinking and doing, then what are they? What is left when all the activity stops? And rather than face this question, rather than allow the possibility of silence to enter their awareness, they attack your silence. They try to make it a problem, a deficiency, something wrong with you. Why are you so quiet? Really, this question is saying, your silence is making me uncomfortable. Please start talking so I can avoid what your silence is bringing up in me. But of course, they do not know this consciously. They genuinely believe something is wrong with you for being quiet. Because in their world, in their framework, constant speech is normal and silence is abnormal. They have mistaken their avoidance for health, their running for vitality, their constant noise for aliveness. Let me tell you something else about why people hate when you are quiet. Your silence takes away their script. In normal social interaction, there is a kind of tennis game of words. Someone says something, you respond, they respond to your response, and so on. This game has rules, patterns, expectations. People know how to play it. They have been playing it their entire lives. It provides structure. It provides a way of relating that feels safe and familiar. But when you do not play the game, when you do not respond in the expected ways, when you do not keep the verbal ball bouncing back and forth, the game breaks down and people do not know what to do. They have lost their familiar framework for interaction. Your silence has removed the structure they rely on to feel comfortable in social situations, and this makes them anxious, disoriented, even angry. Moreover, your silence means they cannot read you in the usual ways. When someone is constantly talking, you know what they are thinking, what they are feeling, what they want. Their words provide a constant stream of information about their internal state. But when you are quiet, they do not have this information. You become opaque, mysterious, unpredictable. And this is threatening because people like to feel they understand and can predict the behavior of those around them. Your silence denies them this sense of control and understanding. They cannot categorize you, cannot put you in a box, cannot figure out what you are about through your words, because you are not providing words. And this uncertainty makes them uncomfortable. So they try to make you talk to get information from you, to reduce the mystery and make you knowable, predictable, safe. There is also this to consider. For many people, talking is how they think. They do not really know what they think until they hear themselves say it. Their thinking happens through speaking. So when they encounter someone who is thinking without speaking, who is processing internally without broadcasting it externally, they cannot comprehend it. They assume that if you are not talking, you are not thinking. They equate silence with emptiness, with having nothing to say, with being dull or stupid or disengaged. They do not understand that you might be thinking more deeply, more carefully, more completely, precisely because you are not constantly verbalizing. They do not understand that silence can be full, rich, vibrant with awareness and perception. They only know their own way, which is to externalize everything, to make everything verbal, to process through speaking. And so they judge your silence by their standards and find it lacking. Let me tell you about another aspect of this phenomenon. When you are truly comfortable with silence, when you are at ease not speaking, it often means you have found something that most people have not found. You have found the ability to be with yourself, to be alone without loneliness, to exist without the constant need for external validation and stimulation. You have discovered that you do not need to be constantly affirmed by the attention and responses of others. And this, more than anything else, is what threatens people about your silence. Because most people are dependent on external validation, on the constant feedback and attention and engagement of others to feel real, to feel valuable, to feel like they exist. They need others to acknowledge them, respond to them, see them, hear them. And they do this through talking, through the constant exchange of words and attention. But you, in your silence, are demonstrating that you do not have this need. You are not seeking their attention or validation. You are comfortable in your own presence. You do not need them to affirm your existence through their responses. And this independence, this self-sufficiency, it is deeply threatening to people who have not found it in themselves. They need you to need them. They need you to seek their attention, their validation, their engagement. Because if you do not need these things, if you are complete in yourself, then what does that say about their own neediness? It reflects back to them their own lack, their own dependence, their own inability to be comfortable alone with themselves. And rather than look at this uncomfortable truth, they try to make your silence the problem. Now, there is another dimension to this that is worth exploring. In many social situations, silence is interpreted as judgment. When you are quiet, when you are simply observing and listening without verbally participating, people often feel judged by you. They imagine that you are sitting there evaluating them, criticizing them in your mind, finding them wanting, and this makes them defensive, hostile, determined to either make you speak or to diminish you by labeling your silence as problematic. But of course, this interpretation says more about them than about you. If they feel judged by your silence, it is because they are judging themselves. They are uncomfortable with their own constant talking, their own need to fill every space with words. They suspect, perhaps unconsciously, that there is something compulsive about it, something driven, something not quite healthy. And when they see you not doing this, not needing this, they feel their own behavior is being implicitly criticized. So they attack your silence as a defense against this uncomfortable self-awareness. If they can make your quietness wrong, abnormal, problematic, then they can avoid looking at their own behavior. If you are the one with the problem, then they do not have to question whether their constant talking might itself be a problem, a symptom of something they are avoiding, something they are running from. Let me tell you something that I have observed over many years. The people who are most disturbed by silence, who are most hostile to those who are comfortable being quiet, these are often the people who are most afraid of their own inner emptiness, their own lack of substance. They talk incessantly because talking gives them a sense of existing, a sense of being someone, a sense of filling the void they feel inside. But the void cannot be filled by words. It cannot be filled by noise. It can only be filled by genuine presence, by actual being, by the recognition of what you are beneath all the talking and doing and performing. And this recognition requires silence, requires stopping, requires allowing everything to fall away so that what remains can be seen. Your silence, your comfort with not talking, it points toward this recognition. It suggests that there is another way, a way that does not require constant noise and activity and verbal performance. And for those who are deeply invested in the noise, who have built their entire identity on it, this suggestion is intolerable. So they hate your silence because it threatens the very foundation of how they have constructed their sense of self. There is also a social dimension to this that should not be overlooked. Society as it is currently constituted values extroversion, values constant communication, values the ability to speak smoothly and confidently, and continuously in business, in education, in social situations. Those who talk the most, who speak the loudest, who fill the most space with words. These are the ones who are rewarded, who are seen as leaders, who are given status and power. Quiet people, contemplative people, those who are comfortable with silence. They are often overlooked, undervalued, seen as lacking in important qualities. The social system is set up to favor talking over listening, noise over silence, extroversion over introversion. And those who have succeeded in this system, who have been rewarded for their talkativeness, they feel justified in viewing silence as a deficit, as something that needs to be corrected. When they encounter someone who is quiet, they are not simply expressing personal discomfort. They are expressing the values of the entire social system, the collective judgment that silence is less valuable than speech, that quiet people are less valuable than talkative people. They are enforcing social norms, pressuring you to conform, to be more like them, to adopt the values and behaviors that the system rewards. But here is what they do not understand: the deepest wisdom, the most profound insights, the clearest perception. These often come not from talking, but from silence. It is in silence that you can actually hear, actually see, actually know what is true. Words are useful. Certainly, communication has its place. But the constant flood of words, the unending stream of speech, this often obscures more than it reveals, confuses more than it clarifies. The quiet person, the one who speaks less and listens more, the one who is comfortable with silence. This person often perceives things that the constant talkers miss entirely. They notice subtleties. They sense undercurrents. They see patterns and connections that are invisible to those who are too busy talking to pay attention. Their silence is not a deficit but a capacity, not a weakness but a strength. But try telling this to someone who hates silence, and they will not hear you. They are too committed to their way, too invested in their identity as someone who is articulate and verbal and socially skilled. They have been rewarded their entire lives for being the opposite of quiet. And they are not going to suddenly reverse their understanding of what is valuable. So what is one to do when one is comfortable with silence, but constantly pressured by others to talk more, to be more like them, to abandon the very quality that allows for depth and perception and genuine presence? The answer, I think, is to simply continue being quiet, not as a rebellion, not as a statement, not as a way of making a point, but simply because it is your natural way, because it is how you function best, because silence is where you find what is real and true. You do not need to defend your quietness. You do not need to explain it or justify it. You do not need to make others comfortable with it. Let them be uncomfortable. Let them hate it if they must. Their discomfort is not your responsibility. It is their own issue, their own avoidance, their own fear that they are projecting onto you. And perhaps, just perhaps, your comfort with silence might plant a seed in them, might create a small crack in their compulsive talking, might allow them to glimpse the possibility that there is another way. Most likely, they will not be ready to receive this. Most likely, they will continue to view your silence as a problem. But you never know. Sometimes the example of someone who is genuinely at ease with silence can be a kind of teaching, a kind of invitation, even if it is not recognized as such at the time. What I am suggesting is that you trust your own nature, your own way of being. If you are quiet, be quiet. If you are comfortable with silence, be comfortable with silence. Do not let the discomfort of others, their judgments, their pressures, their need for you to be different. Do not let any of this cause you to abandon what is authentic in you. The world needs more silence, not less. The world needs more people who can be still, who can listen, who can allow space for something other than constant noise. By being quiet, by being comfortable with silence, you are offering something valuable, even if most people cannot recognize it, even if they hate you for it. And you may find as you continue to be quiet in a world that demands noise, that you attract others who also value silence, who also find peace in not talking, who also understand that the deepest truths are often found not in words, but in the spaces between words, in the silence beneath the sound, in the stillness that underlies all activity. These are your people. These are the ones who will not ask you why you are so quiet, who will not try to make you talk more, who will not judge your silence as a problem. They will simply sit with you in the quiet, comfortable in the shared stillness, present together without the constant mediation of speech. And in that silence, in that shared comfort with not talking, there is a kind of communion that goes deeper than words. A kind of understanding that does not require explanation. A kind of connection that is more genuine than all the superficial chatter that passes for communication in most social interaction. So let them hate your silence. Let them be uncomfortable with your quietness. Let them judge you as strange or weird or problematic. You know what you have found in the silence. You know the value of not constantly talking. You know the peace that comes from being comfortable with just being without the need to fill every moment with words. And that knowing, that direct experience of the value of silence that is worth more than all the approval and acceptance you might gain by abandoning it and becoming like everyone else. Stay quiet. Stay still. Stay true to your nature. The silence is where the truth is found. And those who cannot bear silence, well, they are the ones missing out, not you. Thank you.